I know sitting for an hour and longer can be hard, but thank you all. I'm Robin Truslow, Public Relations Coordinator for Calvert Library, and I'm delighted by our turnout tonight, all these people that came to learn about these wonderful heroes from World War II that you probably didn't learn about in school. So thanks for coming tonight. I also want to do a shout out specifically to Cassandra Okumabwa for introducing me to this film, which made for a fantastic Women's History Month event. I want to thank our wonderful partners for this event, Calvert County Commission for Women, Calvert County Minority Business Alliance, Women in the NAACP, a committee of the NAACP of Calvert County, Calvert County Historical Society, Concerned Black Women, League of Women Voters, and the Big Conversation Partners in Dismantling Racism and Privilege. Thank you all for your support. And now I'm going to introduce Jennifer Foxworthy. If our panelists want to turn off their cameras, they can, or turn on their cameras, they can be visible. I have it in focus mode, so I think y'all will show up. I think I need to change, you might change to presenter view, but let me start with Jennifer. I don't see, oh, is this Jim? Jim, is this James? Okay, our producers, let me turn you into.
Howdy. Hi, everyone.
Get you as a co-host too, so you'll show up. Okay, and I am still missing Tyra. If I'm not sure, there are a couple of people that could be Tyra, but I'm not sure which ones. So if you want to do a shout out, let me know.
Hi, I just sent you a message.
Oh yes, I see it now. Okay, I'll get you added too. All right. Okay, so let me introduce Jennifer Foxworthy, who hopefully, there she is, yep. And let's see. So she is Jennifer Foxworthy is our moderator tonight. She is going to introduce our panelists for us. But Jennifer is a Navy veteran who served over 20 years from 1991 to 2013. One of her greatest accomplishments was being among the elite few to graduate from Naval Air Crew Candidate Training. For over 14 years as an air crewman, she logged over 3,700 flight hours and received 4 air medals. She also knocked down stereotypes by becoming the first African-American female air crewman, the first African-American air crewman in the enlisted ranks, and the first female in flight technician during her squadron hours. She's pursuing her second career as the founder and CEO of Inspirationally Speaking, LLC, and Unstoppable You Ministries. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer.
Thank you, dear Robin. I truly appreciate this opportunity to be the moderator. Thank you to all of our sponsors, all of our guests that tuned in to see this extraordinary documentary, The 6888. Wow, wow, wow. It's my second time seeing this documentary and I get goosebumps every time. It is an absolute pleasure to be your moderator. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists, starting with Ms. Roquel Norris. Roquel Norris has lived in Huntingtown, Maryland for the last 20 years, where she is raising 2 children as a widow. She is the daughter of a U.S. Army veteran, the late Leon B. McLaughlin.
That's when they were introducing that. Yeah.
She just coming on. Who served in the military as an infantryman for over 30 years. He served 2 times in the Vietnam War and was highly decorated soldier. Like her dad, Roquel served in the U.S. Army in her father's footsteps for almost 4 years as an administrative specialist. Roquel is currently a business owner and a writer who just published a book in 2022, an Amazon ebook, Postal Contract Whistleblower. Very interesting. Since leaving the Army, where she served during Operation Desert Storm, Roquel has a new mission. She is an advocate for social justice and hopes that she and her family will do their part to make this world a better place than they found it. We'd like to give a welcome to Ms. Roquel Norris. Then I would like to recognize Ms. Pamela Cousins. She's a U.S. Air Force veteran. She served 1984 to 1994. Miss Pamela Cousins spent her active duty and reserve career protecting U.S. national security interests by delivering space-based global situational awareness for national decision makers. I got so many questions just for Pam personally, including the U.S. President, Congress, National Reconnaissance Office, Secretary of Defense, and the warfighter. Presently, Ms. Cousins is a dedicated public servant and community leader. I'd also give a round of applause for Ms. Pamela Cousins. Next, I would like to recognize and introduce Ms. Tayra Garcia. She served in the National Guard Army from 2006 to 2022. Ms. Tyra is a native of Bayamon, Puerto Rico. She is currently pursuing a second career in the mental health counseling and education field. She is enlisted into the Puerto Rico National Guard in June 2006. She retired in January 2022 from the Army career, serving as a Human Resource Commissioned Officer. As a company commander, she established and operated a few Army postal offices in Europe. So I can imagine that this definitely hits home for Ms. Tyra. Her final assignment was Transformational and Organizational Change Advisor for the HQDA. While serving in the Army, she deployed to Afghanistan, where simultaneously served as the sexual assault victims advocate and master resiliency trainer. Round of applause for Ms. Tayra. Next, Ms. Councilwoman Elizabeth Lawton. She's a fellow Navy veteran like myself. From 1987 to 2007, Ms. Lawton's career path includes 20 years as a military logistician. She held multiple appointments as a U.S. naval officer, as well as a comparable government civilian assignments. As a federal subcontractor, her company grew steadily until 2012, when Affordable Care Act implementations shifted a national agenda towards boosting insurance coverage for all citizens in response. Ms. Lawton reinvented the vision of the LLC, and she founded a not-for-profit organization. Ms. Lawton continues to grow that company's consulting capability through partnerships with local for-profit, nonprofit, and non-governmental organizations alike. As you can see, these women are doing extraordinary things. Can we please give Ms. Lawton a round of applause? And I have one more to introduce. Last but certainly not least, Air Force veteran, Ms. Qiana Royal. She served from 1998 to 2002. She was a program manager with over 20 years of federal service, DBA candidate, MBA, proven ability to expertly manage complex national and international programs in a dynamic environment, recognized leader with strengths in strategic planning, organizational development, and interpersonal skills. Ladies, my fellow veterans, it is an honor to have you on this panel. Well done, and thank you for being here and allowing me to answer some questions. So outside of the panelists, to give everybody their full attention, I would just ask everyone to be mindful to be on mute. We will have 20 minutes or so towards the end of this hour for our audience to be able to ask questions. And you can put those in the chat, or there's over 59 people. So trying to raise a hand and catch all of them may be a little difficult. So please bear with me. And Ms. Robin, when we get to that point, or if there's something that I'm missing, just please unmute and let me know.
I'll just jump in and let Jim Thayers speak for 1 second before we start the panel. Jim Thayers is the producer of the film, and I just thought he might have something to share with us before we begin the panel.
Thank you, Robin. Hello, everyone. Real honor to be here with you. And I posted this in the chat, and I just wanted to share with you all that somewhere along the line, these series of moments, whether it was a monument dedication, then the documentary, and culminating with but the Congressional Gold Medal. Somewhere along the way over the past 4 years, these moments and all the TV and the national news broadcasts, CNN, BBC, ABC, all of them, somewhere along the line, these moments became a movement. And we have found that across the board, all different kinds of folks, gender, race, age, have embraced and loved these women for what they did, and how they came back with such great humility and continued on and went to school and worked themselves into the middle class, as you heard Major General Anderson testify to that. And I just wanted you to know that I work for VA during the day, and many of the women also work for the federal government and work for VA and reach senior positions. And I work actually National Cemetery Administration. And one thing that I was very surprised to discover, and I'm happy that it's this way, but 30 of the women that we know so far are buried in VA national cemeteries across the country. So very honored place. Then we discovered that 14 of them are buried at Arlington National Cemetery. So yes, I saw some eyes raised like that. You know, I'm so happy that the women availed themselves, or their families availed themselves of that honor. And so just when you're there at Arlington, we're working with Arlington to put some of them on the route, you know, when that trams go around, and maybe they'll stop at a few of their sites. But I just want to say that the question that doesn't often come up is, you know, when they passed, where were they buried? But they did receive veteran benefits, and like I mentioned, many availed themselves of those benefits. That's all. Thank you, Jennifer, Robin, and over to the ladies. I'm here to listen now. I'm excited.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jim. It's an honor to have you here.
I'll answer some chats too. Let me go on mute, and if folks want to jump in the chat, I will.
Excellent. Awesome. Ms. Robin, am I good to proceed? Anything else there?
That's it. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. All right. I am excited to ask these questions of our panelists. So the first question is, and each of you will have 2 minutes to respond to this question. After watching the documentary, it was mentioned that much was not expected of the African American. Therefore, people of color generated their own newspapers to help document their amazing accomplishments and stories. As a woman who has served her country, community, and family, briefly tell your legacy that has left a footprint for others to follow. I would like to call on Ms. Norris first.
A blueprint that I've left for others to follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I grew up, as you know, my father was in the military. But I grew up basically out of Washington, D.C. That's where I went to school. And I went to the military, and it was a stepping stone to have a better life and create a better life for my children to come, which I have now. I feel like my legacy is my children know that hard work is essential. And in order for us to be relevant, we have to get educated and we have to work hard. And also, I think we all have learned over the last couple of years, our history is so relevant. I was floored when I discovered these women. Just made my body just gave me chills just to think that these women served like they did. I mean, I had no idea. This is all new for me. And I thank you, sir, for bringing this to light. Thank you so much. Because I'm going to make my kids, they're 25 and 16, but I'm going to have them sit down and watch it as well so they can learn more history. Because like you said, this is something that we didn't learn in school, and kids may not still ever learn it in school, but just to know that, people have their biases about people. They just make assumptions based on what other people say, but you can't do that because we're powerful people, all of us, everyone. So.
Thank you so much, Ms. Norris, for that amazing answer. And you're on point. We all have a footprint, and it's when we learn something, we pass that on. So great message. I'd like to pose this question to Ms. Pamela Cousins, and I'll repeat. The question is, as a woman who has served her country, community, and family, briefly tell your legacy that has left a footprint for others to follow. 2 minutes.
Thank you for that question, Jennifer. I believe my legacy is my daughter, Samira. It overwhelms me to think about how blessed I am to be her mother. She's a remarkable human being with a personality as big as the universe, as most people know. Samira graduated in 2018 from Northern High School, and in about 6 weeks, she'll be graduating from Hampton University, so I'm very proud. But at 21 years old, I see the difference that she's making in the communities she served and on her campus. She watched and listened and walked along beside me on my journey of activism and public service, which began in Prince George's County and continues now in Calvert County. And she models servant leadership, friendship, generosity, love in all facets of her life. She has many, many, many superlatives, to her resume, but most importantly, the lives that she has influenced and the lives that she will continue to impact are endless. So for that, I believe that the legacy, no greater legacy is to have my daughter become that type of human being for this nation.
Excellent, excellent. And I couldn't clap and agree with that more. Yes, yes, yes. Sam is absolutely amazing. Give her a warm hug for me.
Oh, well.
So I'd like to then ask this question, the same question, to Ms. Garcia. Ms. Garcia, do you need me to repeat?
No, I think I remember the question. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you to Raquel and to Pamela for your answers before. They really helped me reflect, so I appreciate it. So I thought about this question pretty hard because it's in regards to, do I want to speak about my legacy from a personal level? Do I want to talk about my children and the legacy in that? Or do I want to speak about my legacy in regards to my military career? So I'm going to take the military career route. And the reason for that is that company command that I took over in Europe, I was the first HR human resources commander. So human resources in the Army is not the most sexiest job. So male in the Army is not the most sexiest job. So I was a little bit in my feelings when I found out that there was 800 females that deployed and I didn't know anything. And I was a human resource commander and I commanded postal offices. So I wrote to my battalion commander and I was like, sir, you cheated me. You did not tell me these women did this, but I'm glad you didn't because we're still performing operations the same way that they were doing it in 1948. It's insane. However, where the legacy is that company was going to get dismantled at some point because they didn't understand the importance of male in the theater, in the European theater. And this is in 2018, just for us to have some context. So when I took over, the only reason I took the company was because I refused to not have a human resource officer in charge of male operations. That is our job. That is what we were trained to do. And I will not allow anyone else in the Army to do it. So after I left that company, every company commander after me has been a human resource officer. And so every time there's a change of command, I get really excited because I don't know, it's both exhausting and exhilarating to think that Tayra Garcia, that I did that. So it's really amazing.
Wow, wow, wow. People we take for granted male. My first duty station was in Adak, Alaska. I was closer, which is off of the Aleutian chain. I was closer to Russia than I was to the mainland United States. Things came on barges, the time difference. So I look forward to the male. So I can truly relate. So thank you, Ms. Garcia, for your answer and for enlightening us the importance of your role and what you did in the postal industry, in the military. I'd like to now pose the same question to Ms. Lawton. Ms. Lawton, the question is, again, as a woman who has served her country, community, and family, briefly tell your legacy that has left a footprint for others to follow.
Thank you, Jennifer. I just want to echo Ms. Garcia, and I went through the same mindset and decided I had two answers. One is I'm still working on my legacy. I don't know what that's going to be, but let's talk about the military one. I enlisted in the United States Navy in 1980. I also was on the second ship that they ever put women on when they decided to put enlisted women on the ship, because I was enlisted at the time, the USS Prairie. And if you know anything about US Navy and their lessons learned, everything that went wrong on the first ship that they put women on, they tried to correct it on the second ship. So it was a huge haul. I was also in this supply chain. And I love this movie because it really showed how important the support people are. The support people are so overlooked all the time. And the ground forces, the guys on the front, guys and ladies on the front cannot do what they do unless they're supported by the logistician. So that was really an interesting situation for me to live through 4 or 5 years of that. I also had a young son who was only 2 years old at the time, and I had to deploy to the Westpac. So that was a very interesting experience, lots of stories there. Fast forward that a little bit. Also, I do want to make a point before I get, I'm an immigrant. I came from Jamaica when I was 16. I went in the service at 19. I knew little or anything about US culture. And that's a story too, because I ended up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's a story. So, you know, I advanced E1 to E7 in 8 years. I did that quickly. Everybody called me a rate grabber. Instead of becoming an E7, I was supposed to go through the indoctrination. It was the same year I got my degree because I was working my degree, raising families and all those crazy things. And so I took the commission. And I took the commission because I felt I could do more. I had no idea what that meant at the time. And I tell people sometimes now I'm starting to realize what that more is that I can actually give. The second half of my career, I became a systems engineer, went to the SysCom, and worked on several weapon system designs and everything else. So made it all the way to lieutenant commander and said, oh, you know what? 12, 10 ranks. I'm just so tired. Seriously, they wanted me to go to CENTCOM and in Saudi Arabia, and I was not wanting to leave the US anymore. And there's this adage that you know when it's time, and it was just time. It was time for me to move on. So the big thing that kept me moving up the chain as I did was there was a saying that, a lot of sayings when we first came in, and one was there's the right way, there's the wrong way, and then there's the Navy way. And I went, Navy way, what's that? So I dug in and I learned the Navy. I learned their systems, how logistics is supposed to work, not what you did at individual commands. So I was able to really understand what needed to happen in order to advance and become more valuable as a teammate. And that was completely my perspective the whole time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wonderful. My goodness, what an amazing career. Thank you, Councilwoman Lawton.
Thank you.
And last but not least for this question, Miss Roya.
Hi, good afternoon. So I was thinking a little bit, listening to everybody's view on what their legacy is. And I had some things jotted down. So I'm just going to add a couple things to that. My legacy to me is trailing a path that wasn't there before. So what are you living back for people when they look back at you? What did you do? What was the difference that you made, right? So to me, my biggest legacy is one of them, because I believe in that's the only way that you can better yourself, and your path is to be educated. So when I joined the Air Force straight out of high school, I had no college degree, no background, no college classes, none of that. But in my 4-year enlistment, when I got out, I had my bachelor's degree. I had my path laid out, what I wanted to do, and I did not listen to the naysayers. Crabs in a barrel, right? That is one of the sayings. So everybody, no, you can't do this. You cannot go in the military in 4 years and come out with a bachelor's degree. What? I did it, right? So you have to set your goals and blaze your own path, no matter what people say about you. You know you're going to hit that mark, right? Sometimes things happen. 9/11 happened to me when I was on active duty. So what did I have to do? I had to pause on my education. And then what? I came back and got back re-enrolled. And I still finished on time. So one setback is not going to stop you from accomplishing your ultimate goal. You have to stay on your path. It may curve, it may turn, but stay focused on it. My other legacy is also community service and giving back to the community, because that's very dear and important to me. My kids I have 3 kids, and they ask me, why, Mom, are you in different organizations? I'm in 3 organizations. Why? Because they fulfill different parts of who I am, right? So one organization is a military organization. Why did I join that? I'm Air Force vet. Why not give back to that community that helped support me become who I am today, right? So the second one is an organization that's based on my family history. It's one of the organizations that my family were members of. So that's why I joined, right? So you got to paint that whole picture to the world around you. I do multiple things for a purpose and a reason. The third organization I'm in supports scholarship, service, and sisterhood. Why did I join that? For those 3 things right there. Bam. That sums up who I am and what I want the world to see. So that's my legacy. Thank you.
Outstanding, outstanding. And within 2 minutes. Well done, ladies, with the first question, making my job as a moderator easy, because I don't want to interrupt anyone, but we are going to keep this stepping. The second question, question number 2 is, were you familiar with the 6888 Women Army Corps? And did you ever have experiences similar to what they endured? So I'll repeat, were you familiar with these extraordinary sheroes? And did you have experiences similar to what they endured? I'm going to start backwards, and I'll start with Miss Kiana.
Ooh.
And each person has 2 minutes.
All right. So no, I was not familiar at all. And when I saw her, Miss Garcia, kind of hooked me up, and I was like, oh, let me look this up, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, oh, wow. So how this connects to who I am. In the Air Force, like I said earlier, I got deployed after 9/11. And basically 9/11 happened. I don't know, a few hours later, I was on a plane gone. Didn't know where I was going. Everything hush, hush, quiet, quiet. And we really did not know the full extent of what 9/11 was, right? So I didn't know if I was going to be going in there looking at dead bodies, bones, whatever, because I was medical, public health. So I didn't know what I was going to be doing. Ultimately, I ended up deploying, and I ended up setting up a bear base. So a bear base, a camp, is basically nothing there. It's a shell. I think there was like one big warehouse. So going there and having to map out a whole new camp, and then from the public health aspect of where things need to be mapped out on the camp, that was hard. That was challenging. Having the pushback of people saying, oh, we want the toilets here and the dining facilities here. And they have to be so many feet apart, right? So there's different rules and things that people don't understand. And you still have to communicate that to leadership, make them aware of what the requirements actually are and not be disrespectful so they can hear what you have to say. So that's how I connect my military career to what they went through. It's definitely not the same, but I'm so thankful for them trailing the path for me to be who I am today. Thank you.
Excellent answer, Kiana. Thank you so much for all that you're doing in the community and beyond. So I'd like to ask this question to Ms. Lawton. We'll have 2 minutes. And the question is, were you familiar with this documentary or these extraordinary women? And did you ever experience anything similar to what they endured?
Yes. First of all, no, I was not familiar with the documentary. So I'm very pleased to be able to have watched it and related a lot to some of what women went through. That ship, I remember walking down the pier with my backpack going, my sea bag going, if I can do that, I can do anything. Do you know they were not prepared for us to come on board that ship? They didn't even have berthing space for us. I was a supply support person as an E4 who was running the contracts to make sure we were having berthing while we were working. It was really crazy. And, you know, in the movie, she said they did nothing to help you. Guess what? They did nothing to help you. So I had to learn every single step of that, working and doing, because it was absolutely crazy, 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 crazy. The men really didn't want us there. They seriously didn't want us there. We were taking their billets. You know, it was a smaller, older tender. So it was only 900 crew, and 100 of the crew were women. It was a very, very, very tough time. It was a very tough time. And so this motto where, you know, you have to be twice the woman or twice the man just to get a single job done, it was really quite the burden to bear. So lots more about that, but I'm going to run out of time, so I don't want to do that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lawton. You did wonderful. I completely understand, you know, things open up for the women, but they're not completely prepared. I flew on an airplane where there was no running toilet. It was a stand-up urinal. So I had to definitely improvise. So my 3,700 flight hours, that's what I experienced up in the air. So I can imagine. Ms. Pamela Cousins, can you please answer the question?
Sure. Sadly, I had not heard of 6888, but I am thankful. Thank you to Ms. Cassandra Kumawa for introducing the library to this, and thank you, Mr. Jim, for producing this film. When I was thinking about this question, I was reflecting back on, I've been working in cybersecurity for more than 30 years. I know I don't look that old, but you know, that's a fact. And so today, only about 25% of the population are women in cybersecurity, which is not a huge number. So imagine what it looked like 30 years ago. And oftentimes it was me in a room full of just white men. There were no other, there were nobody else in the room but me and those guys when we did our work, and wherever I worked, wherever we traveled. So it was very, it didn't seem to faze me at that time. But from time to time, they would often say, you know, whenever there's some type of administrative task, my name was always called first. And I never perceived it as because I was a Black woman. I perceived it as just sexism, you know, just because I'm a woman. And it was very disconcerting. And and most of the times I was either credentialed just like them, or if not more credentials than them, and it didn't matter. And they still would, you know, relegate me to administrative tasks in addition to the work that we performed. So we did cybersecurity, basically making sure that, you know, the networks that we protected from a policy standpoint was secure. And oftentimes that meant the warfighter. So making sure that the vulnerabilities and the risks were mitigated to ensure that, you know, things happened the way it was supposed to happen. And of course, if I had solutions in casters, I fulfilled those, and it was often not believed, you know. So I related to the film tremendously on that. And I had a famous saying that I still say today, that I'm more than a pretty face. And they would laugh, and then, you know, everything would be fine. But that was, you know, my moment, you know, as these women had, that men didn't want me in the room, you know, basically.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much, Pam. I can only imagine, and I've experienced that as well. Miss Garcia, could you please answer the question? You have 2 minutes, and I can repeat. Were you familiar with the 6888 Women Army Corps? And did you have similar experiences that they endured as well?
So no, I was not familiar with them. So thank you to everyone for allowing me this opportunity. I think to say that if I had similar experiences, I think that's a really broad statement, because they're pioneers and what they went through. You know, it's really, we could only imagine it, but it softens the reality of what I feel like I went through, because they went through so much. Although it doesn't take away from it, because I think as I was watching this, it made me realize how young America is. It made me realize how, you know, I'm at the end of my military career, but I'm only 35 years old. All I know is the military. From the age of 18 to now, that's all I've known. And as I think back on my military career, I was a young 18-year-old. I barely spoke English. I come from immigrant parents. I didn't know what the military was. And so when I saw in the documentary where they said a lot of folks in 1948, between 1948 and 1970, they utilized the military as a way to enter into middle class. I felt that, because that is what I live. That's my reality. I didn't have the opportunity to, you know, have someone go to college before me. So I never understood what filling out a FAFSA was. You know, I remember trying to copy from the person next to me, and they're like, this information is your own, you know, and there wasn't Google or Safari. I think there was Yahoo. But it was just, so much of it was so unknown. When I decided to join the Army, that was the only choice I felt I had. I was a single mother with a brand new 6-month-old baby. And in basic training, I remember, like, drill sergeants weren't prepared for females. Drill sergeants weren't prepared to bring females into the Army. I was, you know, this is 2006. There wasn't any breastfeeding regulations. There wasn't any maternity regulations that allowed a mother who just is in the weaning process You know, how does she still has to meet a standard of, you know, try doing push-ups when you're no longer, you know, feeding your child. You know, I had friends that they would put like dry vegetables inside of my shirt so like it could absorb it. And I'm 18. I don't know if it worked, but I know I smelled really good, you know, and sometimes when I got hungry, I would just grab one. And then I think one of them mentioned about the showers, you know, like sometimes we go through so much hardships, but as a soldier, you start to embrace that suck and you start to appreciate the small things that kind of make those hard moments, like the sexism, the racism, you know, like I walked in a room, I remember 200 people. Out of those 200 people, you know, 200 military folks, out of those 200 folks, 150 were males. Out of those 150 white males, you know, then you have 50 of us, you know, and I say us, you had females, minorities all bunched into that. Once you trickled that down, across from me, there was only one female commander and there was only two female colored females in there. You know, those are things that I can't imagine. What I feel like, what I felt was both an honor and a, man, this is such hard work. I can't imagine, you know, Adams standing up to that general officer when he tried to fire her, you know, right. being in Europe during Christmas time with all that mail, people get emotional, people get anxious, you know, and so having the ability to stand up, I think we all have had that same ability. But watching her do it, it's like, it makes mine seem small.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Ms. Garcia. You were so on point. Thank you for your answer. And to wrap up this question, I'd like to ask Ms. Norris. We're going to keep it at 2 minutes because we are almost at time.
Okay, I'm going to make this short. So I enlisted in the Army at 17, and this was in 1987. So I graduated high school when I was 16, and I didn't want my mother to have to pay for me to go to college. So I decided to go into the military. And unlike Miss Royal, she got her education, and I partied for 4 years. I got my education later. I graduated from Johns Hopkins University, but I just tried to have a good time. I got stationed in Germany, and I was in the administrative section because I was an admin person. And I was lucky that I had a sisterhood of women that took me in like their little sister, and they kept me from getting in trouble. And they just treated me like family. And when I saw this movie, it kind of reminded me of that, because I think it looked like they took care of each other. I mean, imagine a 17-year-old in a foreign country, you know, I don't know what in the world I was thinking, but I did it. But also, like you mentioned, Ms. Garcia, the mail that we received in those care packages, those were the lifeline of the military. Oh my goodness, my mother sent me care packages and mail all the time. So I can really say that this documentary was near and dear to me as well. Just, it made me think about all of that. And that's why I am who I am today. So whoever that is.
Fantastic. Well done. Fantastic. Absolutely on point. Ladies, we are at 7:56. So I want to give I'm asking one last question, but this is a wrap-up question. And instead of 2 minutes, it will be 30 seconds. Please, 30 seconds or less, so that we can lend a few minutes to wrap up with the executive producer, Robin, and our guests. 30 seconds. So the last question will go to each of you. What words of wisdom would you give to the women serving in the military now, as well as those who have transitioned to civilian life, like yourself, or any parting words that you would like to say? 30 seconds. I'll start with Ms. Pamela Cousins.
Know your worth. Be your best advocate. Don't give power to anyone to validate you, validate yourself. Stand your ground and and stand in your truth. Thank you.
Boom. Right there, on point. Thank you so much, Pam. Any words of wisdom, Miss Lawton?
Yes. Know that there's a part of you that will never transition because you have so much history. You have learned so much. You have gained in so much wisdom in all that you've done that there's just a part of you that won't ever transition, and you need to honor that and hold on to it.
Outstanding words of wisdom. Miss Norris, what say you?
Never forget your core values of what you learned in training and throughout your career, because you're going to need it all again. Yeah.
Very simple, very, very on point. I know as Navy, it was honor, courage, and commitment for core values, so I get it. Miss Garcia, what words of wisdom do you have?
Accept that you have changed during your military career. The person who swore in is not the person who is now getting out or is out of the military, and that's for the better. You're a better person for your service, you're a better person for your experience, and you're a better civilian now because you were once in the US military.
Wow, you ladies. I so heart you. Miss Royal.
So my words of wisdom would be, have a plan. Whatever it is, write it down, post it up, check mark it, star it, sticker it, whatever it needs to be for you to visualize what your plan is and how you're going to get from point A to point B, right? So plot it out. And also give yourself grace. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to alter your plan. Things have to change and move around. But also, when you start something, start with the end in mind, right? So know what your ultimate goal is. If it's to serve for 25 years or whatever that is, then do that. If it's to get out and be a civil servant like myself, plan it out. And don't listen to the naysayers. Somebody says you can't do something, prove them wrong, because you can do whatever.
Do it twice.
That's it.
Well said, Miss Kiana. Thank you so much for all of you ladies. Miss Lawton, Miss Cousins, Miss Norris, Miss Garcia, Miss Royal, and we have the executive producer, Mr. Jim. I know you've been engaging on the chat. I'm going to turn it back over to Miss Robin. Thank you for allowing me to be your moderator. It was a true honor from fellow veterans to fellow veterans. You all are my sheroes, and I salute you.
I was going to say the same. Amazing. These women are amazing. The film was inspiring, but this whole, like, in your face, these people who have done so much real amazing stuff. I really appreciated hearing from you all. And I thank Jim for making the film. I thank Cassandra for introducing it to us. I thank our partners, and Jennifer, thanks for leading this. And really, our panelists, y'all are amazing. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your stories, and keep telling your stories. Thank you to the attendees for coming, and we hope to see you again at our next programs. Have a good night, everyone.